now, for the first time in history, we've got a player that can win a game by his own. Just Lamine Yamal comes out with something, that's it. Game over. Yeah. To have those three things for a tournament will be massive. Then things happen, sending offs, injuries, whatever. But right now, and I don't think I've said this in the whole of my career, there's nobody better than Spain. By a mile.
So over the next hour, we're going to talk about PSG's frustration with France manager Didier Deschamps, Spain's 6-0 drubbing of Turkey, and Barcelona's continued problems with their new stadium, plus the crucial World Cup qualifying wins for Italy and Germany this week too. We will do that in the company of Julien Laurens, Guillem Ballague and Mina Rzouki, who is yet to join us, but will be with us shortly, I'm told. So good evening, chaps. First of all, Jules, after the international break, refreshed and rejuvenated or exhausted and wrung out?
Always, you know me, Ali, always. And also I'm looking forward to, I know you're preparing for the golf and the Ryder Cup coming up very soon. And this is exciting, even as us football fans are working in football. So there's so much good sport coming up, including the Champions League that is also back next week on the BBC as well, because we will have much of the day as we did last season. So this is very exciting. So international break was good, but club football is back, and that's also very good news.
Yeah, that is top BBC plug-in as well, Jules. 4 Champions League commentaries on 5 Live and BBC Sounds next week. I'll get onto the details of those in a bit. Guillem, where have you been and what have you seen since we last spoke to you?
Costa Brava, which is the best coast in the world, but don't tell anyone. And it is one of those times where, in theory, things slow down. Not anymore, especially when you've got an exciting Spain. You want to watch it. In the past, it would have been like, nah, time to just break from football. No, you actually want to watch it. And they always deliver, as we'll talk later.
Yes, we will. We're going to talk about Italy a little bit too. I can see Mina getting set up there. Mina, are you with us? Can you talk to us?
Yeah, I've still got like my handbag on. I literally just ran in from like this press thing that we had. So I'm in Saudi because Simone Inzaghi's Al Hilal will take on Matteo Reteghi's Al Qadsi in the Saudi Pro League.
Very good. I'll tell you what, we're going to have a slightly unusual start to the EuroLeagues this week. We're going to have a musical start here. And Guillem, I'm actually going to need a little bit of your help. First of all, on pronunciation. Okay. And possibly a little bit on translation, right? So this is Sergio Ramos, the former Spain and Real Madrid defender, who's released a new single. So this is his 6th musical release to date. In terms of pronunciation, Guillem, the title is Cibeles?
That would do. Yes, with an Andalusian accent. So Cibeles. A Castilian would tell you Cibeles, but the way that he would say it is Cibeles.
Okay. Translation on the wake. So let's have a little listen to Sergio Ramos here. Okay. So what's he saying there, Guillem?
All right, let's do the lyrics first and maybe a little bit of the context. He says, "There are things I didn't tell you that still hurt me. I never wanted to leave. You asked me to fly. I would kill for you. I loved you and defended you. But it wasn't in me. You asked me to fly. I dressed up. I gave you blood and sweat. I enjoyed you and suffered you. And I hope it goes well for you. Although without you, I feel bad. Thank goodness I left because you didn't treat me the same. You loved me and I loved you. But someone always gives more. Everything was as I dreamt until it was time to wake up. I put a crown on you. You gave me the wings. I didn't know they were just to get me away." Ooh. Great line.
I didn't know this was about Cristiano Ronaldo. I thought this was just
I thought it was Piqué and Shakira.
It is no difficult to guess here. It's, of course, about his departure of Real Madrid. Or shall we say his version of his departure of Real Madrid. But it is, as you say, not the first time that he does music. He's had music collaborations with Los Yaquis, with the Marco Flamenco and a few others. But his plan is to build a name in music. And the song, as you heard, is a mixture of flamenco, reggaeton. Don't know if you've seen the video, but it's full of images of his career at Real Madrid, the Cibeles fountain, where the Real Madrid fans celebrate and players. So once you see the video, you know what it is about. And it's that, just still hurts for him to have left Real Madrid the way he did.
I was told, Guillem, you might actually even be singing along to that this evening.
Come on.
I did say after the line, I will sing it. The next line is, I was joking. So no singing.
I mean, is he taken seriously as a musical artist, Guillem?
Oh, yeah. Taken seriously. He's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Let's say that the reviews weren't great. This is only the first single that he's done by himself, but there is an album being prepared, and he has some of the biggest producers working with him. So don't be surprised if one or two of his songs become hits.
What do we think, Jules?
Nah. I mean, the song in itself is not so bad. His voice is terrible, I think. I mean, Guillem's voice is probably better. But Ali, really, you're the specialist here.
Am I?
You're from the country where footballers think they're singers.
Oh, yeah.
And keep releasing stuff. In France, we don't really have that kind of history. We had a few. Basile Boli did one, obviously, with Chris Waddle, but I didn't really feel that spectacular, really. We had Pascal Olmeta, one of the craziest goalkeepers that we've ever had, who had one as well. But again, but you are the one with a lot of, history of players singing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Chris Waddle and Glenn Hoddle with Diamond Lights is a very famous one. I mean, my favourite, and this is very old school, was the England squad that went off to the World Cup in 1982 and did a whole album that I listened to again and again. Oh, yeah, loads of songs.
Really?
Kevin Keegan sung on there. Ray Clements sung on there. This Time was the main song that the squad.
Was it?
Yeah. I've probably still got that somewhere on cassette.
Did they have like those CDs for like the World Cups and stuff? With all the different songs from the different countries. Did you guys ever ever buy one of those?
No, what? So each individual country on the same CD, Mina?
Yeah, and it was like I would have them for each year. So it's like the 96, and it was the songs from each country. Or like there was one that was really good. It was Hot Legs for Denmark. That was my favorite.
Okay.
Hot Legs, and it was really really good. Yeah.
Guillem, one for you as well. Just before we get into the meat of the show, I see that Steve Cooper, the former Nottingham City boss, has joined Danish side Brondby. So this is his first job since leaving Leicester last November. I know you know him well. So how has this come about? Why has this been the one, do you think, he's chosen, he's gone for?
He's always felt that international football was for him at some point, somehow. Obviously, he won the World Cup with the under-17s of England. But his mentor was in Liverpool, Pep Segura, who was the director of football of Barcelona, one of the gurus of Spanish football. And he's always pushed him to actually challenge himself abroad. So, as you know, went really well at Forest. He became a bit of a cool hero there. Not so well at Leicester. And I think at that point he was thinking, what is my level? What is it that I am about? And he's going to go abroad to find out. And they're very, very excited about him because he's a big name in their eyes, because the idea is to win another league title, which we think be the fourth in this century, and because of his development of the likes of Mark Gay and Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson, and that's what Brondby is about as well. So I think we should keep an eye on him, but for professional reasons, but personal as well. Do you wonder if having had opportunity to stay in the Championship, if he feels that that's not right, and he starts a career abroad?
Yeah, and I was looking at the fixture list, Guillem. So first game on Saturday is a derby against the league leaders Copenhagen. So obviously a tough start, but if you get a win, fantastic start. Yes,
he hasn't got much time to train. Hasn't had time to answer WhatsApps either, because we were trying to get him for today's show. But he's only been around for a few days. They're fourth in the table. They're not far away from the top. But yes, the idea is they're going to give him time to adapt. And I think they were knocked out in the qualifiers of the Conference League by Leandro Senior Strasbourg. Yeah, so they started, opening the show list of candidates with foreign coaches, and they went for him. And as I said, they're very, very excited about it. So is he.
OK, we'll keep an eye on it then. Steve Cooper at Brondby starts with the derby against Copenhagen at the weekend. We
should have the Danish song, hot legs. We should have that.
Hot legs.
Ask Steve Cooper about hot legs. Could be one of the first questions. Man. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
It's a great song.
Norway. That's what I'm coming on to next. So Norway's massive win in the World Cup qualifiers this week. They beat Moldova 11-1 on Tuesday. So that's 5 wins out of 5 in the group. It equalled the second biggest margin of victory in European World Cup qualification history. The biggest win came 56 years ago, long time ago. That was Germany's 12-0 win against Cyprus back in 1969. Quiz question, does anyone know the biggest ever scoreline in a World Cup qualifier? So I'm talking worldwide in any of the confederations. It is a very famous game, actually.
Yeah, it's the 30-0, isn't it?
Yeah, very close. You're one away,
something
Jules.
Like that,
31-0. Yeah, Australia beat American Samoa 31-0. Back in April 2001, when a fella called Archie Thompson scored 13 goals in the game. But, Haaland got 5. Norway obviously got 11 and 5 wins out of 5. I mean, they've not been at a major tournament, Jules, since 2000. And I always think when you think about countries like that, but particularly players like Haaland and Ødegaard, world-class talent, you want to see it on the biggest stage. There's a great chance now Norway are going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they beating Italy in that first game was key because it's one of them really that are going to top that group with you think Israel probably just coming in third place. So second place is still okay for a playoff qualifier, and you'll have to go through that playoff, but you can still qualify. But if you can ideally top your group, it's even better. And they came close in the past. They had a tough group, of course, for the Euros when they were with Spain and Scotland, but it didn't really work out for them. And this time with the extended World Cup, it's kind of a bit normal that they are very much in the mix. So this was a great win. The goals for Haaland, as you mentioned, two for Rzouki as well. They have that kind of momentum, especially after the Italy win. So they should be there. But again, it would be a first experience like that in a big tournament for this generation, for Solbakken too, the head coach. And it would be very different to anything they've known before. Yes, they're used to Champions League football, but this is very, very different. So I'm not sure we should put too much pressure on them if they qualify or once they qualified, because they will be very much in kind of discovery mood, but they are a very talented squad. It's almost more surprising that they haven't yet qualified for anything than the other way around, really.
So people laugh about the Nations League, but they broke a mental barrier when they actually topped the group and qualified for League A or whatever it's called. That recently, as Jules said, the victory against Italy, they scored 7 goals in 2 games against Oblak, Slovenia, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And in the game itself, what was interesting is that, of course, it showed the talent of Ødegaard and Haaland. They both had the best game with Norway at the same time. But they had Sørloth in one wing and Nusa in another, and they both had ordinary games. So they could have even, they say, reached another level. But certainly we are talking about perhaps dark horses, depending on the draw, who they meet. But the kind of talk that you're getting in Norway is quarterfinals.
Really?
They think they can get to that level, even though they haven't been in a World Cup since 1998, because they've been very solid in the last 12 months. They got, I think, 7 consecutive wins at home, 28 goals against 2. That's the goal that they conceded and scored. Great performances, and you're talking about a team that is picking at the right time.
Yeah, Mina,
who are the teams? Yeah,
go on. Sorry,
I was going to say who are the teams that they're facing, right? That you can say are challenging them tactically or managing to keep that attack at bay. Because at the moment they're allowed to indulge in what they have best, which is that their attack line is the best that you can find, right? You've got the creativity of Ødegaard, you've got the best finisher in the world in Haaland up front. But it is a lot of like the Moldovas, the Estonias, that kind of teams, which have and can be physically bullied as well. And so my question is that when they go in with these hopes of knowing how to do that because they've been allowed to indulge in their style of play and they face teams that are tighter, what do you think is going to be the outcome? And I don't know, because I'm saying, are they good enough now or how? What
was the story of the win over Italy then, Mina, in terms of coming up against Italy?
Italy is Moldova, basically. There's no difference. Right.
Italy beat Moldova 2-0. So I think it tells you a lot how bad Italy are.
There we go. I mean, Italy, listen, it's so different as well, because it's really hard to gauge what we're going on, like what to think of Italy because you've had different coaches, right? So we've seen them from Mancini and then now they've like Spalletti, where it was terrible. And then they've just brought in Gattuso for the last two. So there's just different iterations of Italy. And right now, what we've got is a team that attacks, doesn't know how to defend. What we had under Spalletti was a team that played nice football, but had absolutely no hunger or desire or the wrong mentality, put it that way. It's been a team that hasn't qualified for 2 World Cups in a row. So Italy was once upon a time one of the strongest and, you know, has the most number of World Cups and tied with Germany, but they've lost that ability to threaten their opponents. So when you judge the fact that Norway has beaten them, I wouldn't take that as something that I can honestly say to you. I mean, Israel scored 4 and you know, managed to come back and totally destroy Italy in ways. Well, they just dropped the ball. And obviously they got that Tonali goal at the very end to make it one of the most exciting games ever. And Gattuso said, this is my badge. And he hasn't had time to really translate his skills. But I can't honestly tell you that Italy right now is one of those teams that I would say this is how we get to judge Norway, because they played Italy and they won this. But this is my question, because I'm not sure, like, you guys might have watched Norway. I'm not watching their qualifiers all the time. But do you think that this is the team that is going to struggle in the World Cup, or do you think that they are actually good enough to always play their game and get points?
There is a team that is throughout this whole, all of the lines, they've got quality. They've got a good goalkeeper. Up front, certainly they've got quality and alternative as well. They are doing it in a different way to that time in the 90s when they become the second in the rankings of FIFA, the number 2. And they've got the fans behind. It seems really like, not sure about quarterfinals, but it will certainly be a team difficult to beat and one of those that generally score as well. So that takes you far.
Jules, is Cristiano Ronaldo going to be concerned about Erling Haaland? So Ronaldo, obviously with the record for goals in international football, 141 in 223 appearances. Haaland is 48 in 45, so scoring at more than 1 a game.
Yeah, I think man, it's very early to say that Cristiano could be worried at some point, because it's not so much about can you score goals and can you score a lot of goals, because Haaland or Mbappe, those kind of guys are very much capable. Is can you do it until you're 40? Because if there's no longevity for those two players, if they stop their career at 35, like a lot of players do, then no chance. The only way you can do it is keep that level of performance, which is already very difficult to do, but do it for another 15 years for both of them. I mean, Kylian is 26, Haaland is a bit younger, but not that much, at 24. But yeah, so it's another 16 years at that kind of level. So another 10 years, probably no problem. Can they do the extra 5 years like Cristiano is doing? I'm not so sure. But if they can, physically, if they're fit enough, if they still have the desire, the hunger, then of course, I think they will be quite close. But then that's what makes Cristiano so special as well. It's that longevity and that incredible level for all those years.
I've done the maths, and Haaland would need 8 years to reach Ronaldo's 141. That's assuming Ronaldo doesn't add anymore and Haaland maintains the same, the current strike rate. And when he reaches there, he'll be 33, Haaland. So there is a chance.
Yeah, but that's if he keeps going at the same rate. And the rate at the moment, you'd have thought at some point that is going to slow up, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Wait, hold on. But doesn't also depend on the fact that Portugal obviously played a lot more games because it's a good team. And maybe Norway is not going to get to as many games. Like if you're comparing it to say, like,
I was just saying the maths.
Yeah.
And the maths is that he would be only 33, which, makes you think.
Yeah. Right, listen, if Norway are potential dark horses at the World Cup next year, if they get there, let's chat about potential favourites. Spain beat Turkey 6-0 away from home on Sunday to follow up their 3-0 win away to Bulgaria last week. So at the start of the group, 2 wins from 2 for the European champions. In terms of what we're seeing from them at the moment, Guillem, is there anything new? I'm sort of thinking back, obviously, to the team that won the Euros last year. How are they developing?
They're doing the same thing, but better. And every player seems to reach a new level. Pedri was outstanding, not only the 2 goals he scored, but the way he run the team. There is a mentality change. There was confidence within the camp, much more than outside the camp in the Euros. Now I think we all think, yeah, we can win this. In fact, anybody who wins it that is not us, they're going to have to play really, really well. Against Turkey, there was collective brilliance. The second goal, you have to watch it. Every single Spain player played a part in that game. But Lamine hardly didn't have any big impact on it. He did later on. He didn't score, but assisted twice. Made 8 dribbles out of 10, 23 out of 27 passes, 4 key passes. So Lamine keeps growing, and around him, everybody else has got a role to play. By the way, Fabian wasn't there, who was so important in the Euros. And then Mikel Merino comes in, fills the gap, scores 3 goals. This is a quality of Spain that I have not seen before.
Yeah.
And I've seen Spain for 40 years or so.
That's what I find quite interesting, Jules, in terms of sort of squad strength, is, Merino gets the hat-trick. Merino is not it's probably a little unkind to say not a star player at Arsenal, but he's not a headline act at Arsenal, even though he does an important job for them. And I always look at that Spain squad, and it's players like that, like Dani Olmo and Oyarzabal, and players like that who aren't necessarily the big names, but you look at their caps and goals records, and Spain just seem to have loads of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the other incredible thing, on top of the football and the winning experience and winning mentality that they are having now after the Euros. We mentioned that Fabian wasn't there, Rodri wasn't there, Carvajal wasn't there either. So he was not even there really on paper, certainly when everybody is fully fit and on top form. This is not even their best team, and yet they go away to Turkey and they just smash them. And to be fair, they could have conceded 1 or 2, but they could have scored easily 2 or 3 more without any problems. But you're right, the likes of Ferran Torres, who scored in that game too, is there. That's the thing. But I remember talking about it with Guillem at the Euros in Germany when we were together before the semi-final, but even earlier, before Spain beat France, but even before that in the tournament. And he was saying this, the collective strength is incredible, as well as De La Fuente changing, obviously, a bit of what Luis Enrique had been doing before. And this is a team that can keep the ball, but can also play with verticality far more than before. And they have that depth in the squad. They've got players who are full of confidence. They've got the momentum. It would be very hard for anybody, even in a year's time. I know a year is long in football, but even in a year's time, they will still be massively favourite, and it'd be very hard to stop them.
Yeah, that makes them a scary proposition, Mina.
Listen, I think that the way that they played against Turkey signaled just the ability that they have and what they can do when they've got complete control of the game. But I am sort of reluctant to tell you who I think is going to be really good and who I think is going to be bad, based on the fact that they're playing teams that are either, for example, like Turkey, they just decided to go all out, right? They were just very much not playing with any sort of balance. And so I don't know how to judge these types of games when I don't think that they're being played in the strictest way that you would do so when you are in a major tournament and taking the right steps to ensure balance, to ensure defensive strength. This is a stage of a lot of experimentation for a lot of teams, and Turkey did that. Turkey is a very good team, and I think that the way that they played that match was very much like, let's see what we can do. We can take this team on. We've got good strength. Oh, okay, maybe we don't. Okay, maybe there's just giant holes here that Spain can totally exploit. I'm not taking anything away from Spain. I'm just saying that a lot of us making judgments about certain teams when maybe the opponent is not giving it its all in terms of defense. So I don't know how to judge these sides, but certainly Spain, considering the fact that they are already winners of the Euros, we know that they have a factory of players who continue to astound us, none more so, just like Guillem talked about, in Pedri, who makes it all look so effortless when he plays the game.
Oh, there's 3 ways I'm thinking where you can come out with the conclusion that Spain deserve to be trusted. One is European champions, Nations League finalists.
If there's ever a team to trust, it's very much. If there is definitely any team to do that, it's very much Spain.
That's one thing. The other thing is we've been playing the same way, even though in the Luis Enrique era didn't fully work for a while. So these players not only know each other because they've been going through the ranks, they know the system inside out. That helps. You see England and you still see things not happening in a fluid way. Same with Italy, Germany as well. So that is sorted. And that for a national side, it just gives you certainly an advantage. And now for the first time in history, we've got a player that can win a game by his own. Just Lamine Yamal comes out with something, that's it. Game over. Yeah. To have those 3 things for a tournament will be massive. Then things happen sending offs, injuries, whatever. But right now, and I don't think I've said this in the whole of my career, there's nobody better than Spain by a mile.
Just on Yamal there, Guillem, have Spain really never had an individual like that, you think, in the history of Spanish football? Someone who can do... Really?
No, we had Raúl.
No, I stand by that too.
Who was the leader of Spain, but didn't impact international competition generally, or Butragueño before. Was great against Denmark, but was missed against Yugoslavia, for instance, in the same World Cup. We had David Villa, who scored important goals when we won in 2010. Fernando Torres at this moment. But, you talk, who's the best Spanish player in history? And then some will say Xavi, Iniesta. Okay, you've got Xavi and Iniesta, but now you've got a guy that right now in Europe has never been involved in more goals, assists, and goals itself. And he's only 18. So disputing the Ballon d'Or. Okay, Rodri was the best centre midfielder, but again, this is not the guy that wins you games. So it's exciting.
Just moving on to the domestic scene in Spain, Guillem, talk to me about the Nou Camp, or which way am I meant to say that? Camp Nou or the Nou Camp?
The no Camp Nou. Finally, there'll be no discussion.
Well,
you can put it in both sides.
Yeah,
the no Camp Nou, the new Camp Nou.
Yeah, the new Camp Nou. But it is a no, isn't it, at the moment? Because they were meant to be playing their first match at the new stadium on Sunday, and it's been delayed again.
Yeah, they will play at the Johan Cruyff Stadium with a capacity of 6,000. La Liga demands that the capacity should be minimum 8,000, but they just went like, yeah, okay, Johan Cruyff will do. Because they realize of the difficulties that Barcelona are facing. The promises have been broken for a long time. They were supposed to return in November 2024, then early 25, then before a Clásico. And the thing is, the club knew it was never going to happen. So why do they do that? Why do they announce, when nobody's asking them for dates, that they're about to open? And then you look at the work that's been done. They're miles away from it still. And it has to do with two things, I think. One, they want the sponsors not to go away. The stadium's going to open any minute, just don't go away. But also there's a financial strain that puts even more difficulties to the future of the club. So, for instance, in December, Goldman Sachs are the ones who have put the money to build the stadium, 1.5 billion euros. In December, they will have to pay 44 million euros. And the following year, 94 million euros. So they actually pushing and putting pressure to the builders to say, come on, get this right, and get it soon, because otherwise the debt continues. And I've asked a financial advisor friend of mine to tell me in English the situation of Barcelona, so I can put it in just one sentence. And he says, very highly delicate, the club's working capital, still negative, means it struggles to pay short-term payments, but its net worth is also in the red, with the debt exceeding the assets. So they need to stop that. And the only way possible to stop that is for the stadium to be open.
Yeah, so it was meant to be first home game against Valencia this weekend. First home game in the Champions League is scheduled against Paris Saint-Germain on the 1st of October. So we'll follow that story. Now, I think we're going to get some very healthy debate on the Euroleagues on this next issue, because talking about La Liga, Villarreal's match against Barcelona in December could become the first European League fixture to be played abroad, with the Spanish FA approving plans to hold the match in Miami. Italy are also trying to do something similar with Serie A, proposing that AC Milan's match against Como in February be played in Perth, Australia. UEFA's executive committee today said it would delay approving the decision until a round of consultation had been undertaken. I've got a feeling I'm just going to be able to lob this into the middle of you three, sit back and listen to you go for 10 minutes. So, I mean, what about this concept of taking domestic league matches abroad, Jules?
It's not for me, Ali. It's not for me for a simple reason. I don't mind playing games abroad, no problem. But then everybody has to play abroad at some point, because the rules are the rules. You're playing 19 home games if you're in a league of 20, 19 home games, 19 away games. If two teams start having one of those games that is not at home or not away, but on neutral ground somewhere else, it's unfair, and there should be no unfairness in a league season. It just doesn't work like that. So if you want games abroad, no problem. Everybody will have a game in Miami, in LA, in New York, in Perth, in Paris, in Berlin, wherever you want, no problem. But everybody has to be on the same page. You can't just have two teams going away to play their game, because the rules are the rules and they're there for a reason, right? 19 home games, 19 away games. That's the way it should be, and stay like that. Unless everybody has that one game somewhere else. And in that case, I've got no issue, but not just two teams.
Okay, so that's about the integrity of
Absolutely.
the competition, right?
Yeah.
Mina?
Well, mine is more to do with Serie A, because one of the reasons that they want to do Milan-Como, for example, is logical reasons, in the sense that San Siro is unavailable in February because they are hosting the opening ceremony of the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics on February 6th. And so because there's going to be such a congestion fixture in February, they allowed both Milan and Inter to play the first game of the season at home, so just on alternate days. And the idea was, okay, well, let's put this abroad, and it's a win-win situation, because then we get to spread Serie A, and everyone, in Australia, there are so many Australians of Italian origins, and they get to finally see some of their teams closer to home. It worked really well when they went in May. So you want more people to watch Serie A. You want Serie A to have better coverage. It'd be really good if you actually had a marketing department that picked up the phone. It'd be really good if all of these offices that you built abroad actually are staffed well and have a budget to actually work and do advertising in the same way, for example, the Bundesliga do. You need anything from the Bundesliga, you will get a reply straight away. You need anything from Serie A, I mean, we're talking about 2 to 3 years before someone gets back to you, and that's if anyone does. And so I think that they are focusing on the wrong things when they are trying to spread the word of Serie A. And I think a lot of the times that the way the clubs operate, the way that it's so difficult sometimes to get hold of either interviews or to get hold of executives within Serie A, it seems astounding to me that they think, oh yeah, we'll just take this game to Australia and then everyone's going to love Serie A and this is how it's going to work. That's just not how it's going to work. And yes, of course, I agree with Jules, because how hard is it going to be for Milan to travel all the way to Perth? Imagine they're now in a title race, right? Napoli's playing at home, Inter's playing all within their city, and they are having to travel to Australia to take on Como. It's going to be exhaustive. There's all these things to link into it. And if they are in the middle of a title race, that's just throwing their season potentially apart. So for the sake of fairness, for the fact that this is becoming more and more like a business, and I get it, we live in this world and we have to embrace globalization and capitalism and everything. I just don't think we need to go that far just yet. That's it. But this is about relevant sports, so.
Okay, Guillem's been waiting patiently. Go on, Guillem.
Go for it, Guillem, who opposes both of us.
First thing to say is that if you read between the lines of what UEFA have come out with today, they're actually saying we cannot stop this, but we want everybody involved. What is going to happen?
What do you mean everyone involved, Guillem?
He wants the players to be getting all the information that, for instance, they don't have now. The trade union in Spain, they're saying, we're not getting information from La Liga about what this is about, right, and time to rest and things like that. So they want them involved. They want sponsors involved. They want federations involved, all of the federations, and to come out with an agreement. But it's going to happen. Integrity. The Villarreal president not only is happy to go to Miami to play Barcelona, but he's also said that Villarreal has beaten Barcelona more often at the Camp Nou than at home. So neutral ground isn't an automatic disadvantage. Secondly, I think we tend to look at football in a very Eurocentric way. But we want everybody to get involved. That is the money. We want the money. But we'll keep the league to ourselves. And in fact, what La Liga is seeing, a little bit like Mina was saying, new markets, new audience, new engagement, boost sponsorship, broadcasting rights, merchandising, and all of that. Yes, that's money, but it's the only way to compete, for instance, with the Premier League that are heading away with all what their reaches. So one way to stop that is to actually be at the forefront of this, go abroad, play a game, and see what happens. By the way, the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, they all travel abroad. And it's such an excitement to see it in Madrid or in London or whatever. Why can we not do that for our Miami fans? Very much up for it.
Okay, I mean, that's an interesting question, Jules, in terms of other sports do it. So why shouldn't European football do it?
There's different sports, different structures. They don't have relegations, for example. You don't qualify for Champions League like you do in like for another tournament. Like you qualify for playoffs, but it's very different. So the way I see it, and for integrity, I think there's a lot of teams that would like to play Barcelona sometimes on neutral ground too. And so that's just the thing. I think everybody should be in the same position. That's it. You should not have some teams who don't play all the game away from home or all the games at home or whatever. I think it should be the same for everyone, but it's fine. La Liga can go and play there. We will be watching it. We see what the result will be and what the consequences, and if it's positive or not so positive, and if they're going to do it again or not. And maybe then more teams will go. I just think there are rules for a reason.
Yeah, but you also have to consider, like, as in this is another reason when we talk about other sports, there's salary caps in American sports. So you have the draft system as well. So that this makes a lot of things a lot more equal, right? When you are operating, like Guillem saying, where the Premier League is able to spend over 3.6 billion euros in the transfer market, and you look at the Bundesliga and Serie A, and they're the minus levels or just slightly over, then there's a huge disparity in the level of money being made. And this is where it comes into, of course, Villarreal and Barcelona need to fly out to America because they need to make money to try to keep up with the Liverpools and the Chelseas of this world. But then this is where I feel like maybe the next step to do to make things a little bit more competitive is have a wage structure or do something in the sense that we don't have such a huge disparity. And if you do want to do it like American sports and embrace that, then you have to embrace the whole structure of American sports, which is including the draft system, which is including a lot of the fairness that exists there. So then you can have the globalization that goes with it because everyone is on an even keel. And I don't think that you have that in European sport. So it's almost like we're trying to create our own sport where we keep the interest of football, what makes it so interesting, which was a working class sport back in the day, which is something that it was about. Villarreal is what, under 50,000 population, has this beautiful story. And it's like, yes, we'll pay for your season tickets to travel. They're going to do that for the first year. They may even do that for the second year. And then they'll be forgotten about, those fans that have covered. Or if you have all these like Oviedo story, which is about like how the club has worked so hard to rebuild this. And then is that the same? Like, are we going to lose that when it starts going more abroad and we start playing games in Australia? Or are the Australian fans going to, for that level, I think you're going to lose something. But we have to, I also agree with Guillem's point in that we also have to cater to fans who live abroad.
But in terms of what makes those games special, like a domestic league game, because they're played in the country that those clubs, are situated in, do you think there would be a level of authenticity lost there, or does that matter?
That is the thing. It doesn't matter because in the way you're looking at football, you're looking at football now. You're looking at the picture of football now. And as Mina is suggesting, there are things that are going to change. I'm pretty sure that football in 5 years' time won't be the same as it is now. Who's there to say that perhaps the trade union in England managed to succeed and put a cap in wages, which is something they're thinking of? That changes the whole picture already. What is there to say that Real Madrid changed their mind and they do want to travel abroad as well because they see the benefits of it? Then again, the whole world opens up. We've had football in a certain way for a long time. But since in the last 3-4 years, I think everybody thinks that things have to change. They all seem to have the solution. But what we're doing right now is putting things out there, see what works, see what doesn't, to transform football in something really universal. And it makes sense that happens, and not just in World Cups. Everybody wants to be part of it, and this is certainly a way of doing so.
Let me just read you a statement from Football Supporters Europe. It's a combined supporters group involving several European clubs. So this statement came out last week on this issue. We express our firm opposition to the ongoing attempt to relocate games elsewhere around the world. It's a direct attack on the essence of football. It would instantly open a Pandora's box with unpredictable and irreversible consequences. Football's based on a set of rules and principles, and the rules of domestic leagues are simple. You play the same clubs home and away, and the best team wins the league. The concept of flying players, staff, fans, and others across oceans for a home game is absurd, unaffordable, and environmentally irresponsible.
Do you remember when the European Cup started and certain teams of certain parts of the world decided not to play it because that was against the essence of the game? And then they joined in.
Yeah, you're arguing progress.
You were the only one that was born when the first European Cup was played, I think. I can't remember.
No, this is.
Guillem, can I ask you something?
Let me just say, Mina, one thing. The football fans are the most conservative part of the whole of football. They don't want anything to change, and I fully get it. But
I mean, this is one of the reasons also is like the ultra culture. Like, maybe this is a good thing because the ultras, for example, in Serie A are almost trying to hold clubs hostage, right? So it's like, you need us, so you got to do everything that we tell you to do. But actually, maybe they don't need you eventually if they start flying abroad. But we go back to the question of the Super League, Guillem. Would you have wanted that to happen over playing games abroad?
Well, as part of the Super League.
Just have the Super League. Like, that was cancelled. That was a dream that at the time was started, and that's gone away. And the fans opposed it. Do you think they were wrong to oppose it?
I'm not sure, to start with, that it was the fans that stopped that. There was governments and powerful figures that stopped that. But in any case...
But there was a lot of protesting from the fans.
Yeah, there was. And that was used to stop it because it certainly felt, especially from England, that wasn't the right time. But... why not? I just say, it's like, why not? But, God didn't make football this way. We created the rules, so why not change them? Why not try different things? Why not making it exciting? Why not allow the Miami fans to see a Villarreal, Barcelona, and fill the stadium? It'll feel like a home ground for Barcelona, I'm pretty sure. But in any case, why not?
I'm going to move it on to domestic football that is taking place in its own country this weekend. Mina, a little bit of Serie A chat. So league football returns this weekend. I guess the standout match Saturday, 5 p.m. UK time, would be the Derby d'Italia, Juventus against Inter. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It's usually the biggest game of the season. Derby d'Italia, first time that you've got two foreign coaches in charge of their teams. And you go into this with, there's only been 2 games that they've played in Serie A, but Juventus are ahead of Inter right now. And the question is more about Inter that I would say than it is about Juventus, because obviously Inter had reached 2 Champions League finals in 3 seasons under Simone Inzaghi. They had that dreadful loss to PSG that seems to still be like the monkey on their back that they're carrying with them, whether psychologically or just it's spoken about almost in every article and in every piece that's ever documented about Inter recently. It's like, oh, have they forgotten about that humiliation? And they brought in Christian Kivu, and I think there is a question mark as to he wants to play in this completely different way. He wants a more direct, more physical, I would say more traditionally almost Italian side. And I think that what was so beautiful about Simone Inzaghi's tactics was that they were nuanced and very sophisticated, and the team were very adept at them. But right now, you feel like there's a lot of confusion, and you worry whether Kivu is tactically sophisticated enough to extol the virtues of the players that he has and adapt to the opponent. Juventus have their own problems. They've started so many different projects that have ended badly, spent money where it's ended up going nowhere. And now they have they have the deepest attack because they've just brought in a bunch of players, making up for the fact that they didn't get Kolo Muani. And I don't know. I don't know whether this is the game. It's come too early. I wish there was more of Inter to have watched just to really make a judgment of this, or more of Juventus's games. But I will say this is that I worry about Inter this season. If they stay under Kivu, I have a feeling that both of these coaches, both Tudor and Kivu, won't last very long on this bench. I think that this is going to be very much of you stay as long as you do well. We don't give you the kind of guarantees that someone like Antonio Conte and Max Allegri would get. So I'm interested to watch this game. I don't know how good it's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of confusion. I just hope there's going to be a lot of goals.
Mina, are you going to meet Simone Inzaghi?
For Al Hilal, yeah. He's now the coach there.
Because I just wonder if he tells you, if he felt that obviously it was the end of an era for Inter and decided to move on.
He did.
Money must have been important, but also if he didn't feel that he couldn't convert or start a new era at Inter, and why?
I think the era, it's changed very much. I mean, even when you're seeing sort of certain players like Çalhanoğlu, the question is can he still be the player? There was obviously there was a fallout between him and Lautaro Martinez over the summer. He wanted to go back and play in Turkey. And it was like, are you Lautaro Martinez, after one of the games in the Club World Cup, mentioned something along the lines of, are you giving everything that you need? It felt like Inter had this strategy under Beppe Marotta, and it had worked really well for them. A little bit of the strategy that he had managed to implement at Juventus, which is investing in certain older players who are at the peak or in their prime, rather, at 28, 29, and build the size or a low cost, immediately going for wins. And Inzaghi worked really well within that team. He enjoyed the experience there. I think he did really tremendous work. But because he couldn't get over the line, I feel like starting all over again. And now where he needed to really invest in the side again, bring in new players, introduce more youth. You aren't going to get the best out of Mkhitaryan anymore. You're not going to get the best out of Çalhanoğlu anymore. So there has to be a squad rebuild. And I just feel like there's a part of him that died in that 5 PSG. Lautaro Martinez spoke about it in this interview, and I thought he was really poignant in the way that he reflected on it, because you could feel the pain that he felt. He said that they had just so prepared for this game in a way that they felt so confident. And then they faced this monster of a side that just, he's like, before we could even blink, they were like goals and goals. And we didn't understand what was happening. And I think going through that, a certain character would say, you know what, I'm going to go back. Like a Carlo Ancelotti would be like, you're not going to do that to me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to win. Like a little bit of what he did with Milan after that Liverpool humiliation. It was like, it was in his head. Like, I've got to go back and I've got to destroy Liverpool as much as I can. But with Inzaghi, I feel like he thought the club's got to be rejuvenated. There's going to be a long project. I don't feel that attraction from both sides. I don't think he felt that either. And it just ended.
Jules, on the subject of eternal youth, I don't know whether you saw Luka Modric turned 40 this week and tweeted age is just a number. He's obviously playing in Serie A at the moment. Jamie Vardy is 38. And he said exactly the same thing, having joined Cremense. So that's his new club, who've started the season really well. For me, age is just a number. As long as my legs are doing exactly what they used to and still feel as fresh as they do, then I will carry on. At the moment, there are no signs of them slowing down. And Vardy could make his Cremense debut away to Verona on Monday. It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, with number 10 as well. He was presented with the number 10, which is a special number anywhere. But, in Italy, they've obviously had great number 10s too in very different clubs. So it's a big number to carry. And you're right, they've started well. They're third in the table. They beat Milan on the opening day. It's only after 2 games, obviously, but they have 2 wins in 2 games. I mean, I don't know. He obviously hasn't played for a very long time because he didn't have a real preseason. I don't know when he will be ready. He looked fit enough already today in his press conference, but that's not about running and being match fit for a game of that kind of level. So we'll have to see. But yeah, it's very exciting. And we said it a little bit the other day about Ligue 1. There's many more English players abroad now. I mean, Vardy is a bit special because of his age, really, but still, I think he's good. And we talked about Steve Cooper, is Welsh, but in terms of British players or manager, to go abroad now and learn from there and live through different experiences, I think this is great. So I think we're all looking forward to see what Vardy can do there.
Mina, I asked this question with my tongue firmly in my cheek. Could Cremense do another Leicester and win Serie A?
No, it would be a fairy tale. My God, they're so excited about Vardy's. They are, because, I mean, even when they introduced him, right, it was like, this is the home of the violin. This is like, we're going to give him the grandest welcome. People are like crying. You would think like Michael Jackson's in town. This is the way they're treating his arrival. And still, Vardy is the picture of Leicester's win. And for them, 2016 wasn't 9 years ago. It was like yesterday. It's like, this is the guy. This is the guy with Ranieri. He was Ranieri's guy. I'm interested to see whether he starts giving tips on what his health routine is, have a Red Bull or what it is that's going to be. But they have Davide Nicola as their coach, who's a man who's very good at rescuing sides from relegation, just, getting them just over the line. But is he good when he starts the season? That's the question. So I don't know whether he can be the difference. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you about that. I mean, tell me that Cremonese dominates the games and spend 95% of the time in the opposite third. Because otherwise, how are you going to get the best out of Vardy? Don't tell me it's a counter-attacking team. No.
It's a counter-attacking team with Vardy.
Oh my God.
It's gonna have to be a counter-attacking team. It doesn't really matter how he's gonna fit into the game. It's about the name. We bring Luka Modric, and he's gonna fit in, and we're gonna find a way of fitting him in. And I'm thinking, you've got Rabiot, you've got Loftus-Cheek, for example, with Milan. How are you gonna fit all these guys in, and who's gonna be the heartbeat? Does Modric have a role in this? But yeah, you're damn well he's gonna have a role in this just because his name is Modric.
So that could be the Jamie Vardy debut for Cremense away to Verona on Monday. Let's finish on France, Jules, where, and I teed this up right at the top of the show, actually. There have been disagreements, the old club and country row going on during the international break. And I remember listening to you, actually, on the first EuroLeagues of the season, talking about sort of argy-bargy going on in France. So what's this all about? What's happened?
Well, you're right. That whole debate that we've mentioned so many times on the show about club v countries and, your players going for the international break with the national teams and something happening for them there because PSG were not too happy that Didier Deschamps called up and kept with him with the national team Ousmane Dembélé, who's already picked up like a minor injury in the league game before the international break, and Désiré Doué. They wrote a letter to the French Federation saying, listen, they are both very tired physically. We've got all the data. We've got everything. Please look after them. And then what happens? Both of them get injured in the first game of this international break. One is out for 6 weeks, the other one for 4 weeks. And then obviously PSG are not happy. And they're saying to Deschamps and the national team, we told you to look after them. And look, now they're coming back and we won't have them for a month and 6 weeks. So you can understand PSG's position. We had a similar incident with the under-21s as well, where we're not happy that one of their young players, very talented, play with the under-21s when they again told the federation, don't play him. He's not fully fit. And yet they still played him and he got injured. So it's not the first time, not the last time. Deschamps said, listen, I played Dembélé especially because he said he was fit. It looked like he was fit. And then seemed to regret it a couple of days later because of how big this story became. So it's one of them that I think is quite difficult if you put yourself in the shoes of a national team head coach when those players come to you and yes, you've been following them and yeah, you've got medical staff linking with each other and things like that, but it's still very different and you've got your own interest, your own games to win. It's not always easy to accommodate the clubs and some of the players.
Yeah. Luis Enrique, Guillem, he's been both sides of this.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Obviously, he now believes that the federation have done very badly. But I was thinking as I was listening to Jules, I've spent a whole year now with Aston Villa, and the amount of work that gets put in for players' fitness, to monitor where they are, blood tests constantly, weight, all of it. To know, they go into this machine where it goes like red or green, depending how close you are to get an injury, that kind of thing. To now go to the national side when the manager says, well, the player told me he was fine. And I'm sure there is more work than that, but simply not enough for these Formula One cars now that require every single detail to be looked after. And then where they get thrown into the national side where there is not such a level of scrutiny. And these things are supposed to happen. Can they not have like a WhatsApp group, the doctors of both, the federation and the club, and then talk to each other? It should be as simple as that, no?
That would be too easy. But I think Ali was mentioning about Luis Enrique for him for falling off his bike on the same day that both Doué and Dembélé got injured, by the way, and breaking his collarbone. So he's a huge bike rider, loves his bikes and everything. And then that must hurt though. And he got surgery today. It's all good. And he should be on the bench because he's a warrior on Sunday when PSG hosts Lens in Ligue 1.
We've got 90 seconds left, Jules, and I've got to ask you this one very quickly. L'Équipe have reported that Zinedine Zidane is in line to replace Didier Deschamps as France's manager at the end of the World Cup next summer. So talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, we've all reported it. We've known since Deschamps has announced that he was finishing his career with the national team after the World Cup, whatever the result is. So it's Zidane's job if he wants it. We think he wants it. We've been told he wants it. So if he does want it, then it's his. And I think everybody in France agrees and everybody's very happy, especially the players, that potentially in a year's time, Zizou will be back on the bench and back with France, really, which is, I think, a dream for a lot of our generation, certainly.
Yeah. Mina, do you think he'd be suited to international management?
Yes, I think he's suited to everything. I think he's He's a winner, and I think that this French team will look up to him so much, and he might be able to do something that's more entertaining than what Deschamps done. Maybe not win a World Cup though, so we don't know.
This may sound heresy, but this is the right time as well, because if he waits another generation of French players for him to be the boss of, it may be one of those where they say, "Who is this guy?" And I know for us what Zidane is, and you can watch things on YouTube and all that. But now I bet the players are desperate to work with him.
Thank you very much for your company, as always, on the EuroLeagues. Guillem, Ballague, Julien Laurens and Mina Rzouki. I'll see you soon.
The Football Daily Podcast
on BBC Sounds.